Hi, I'm Melissa Bantuck here in the Johns Hopkins Breast Cancer Program. Today we're joined by Jane Zorzi, a research nurse here focusing on clinical trials, and Kim Burden, who's one of our patients here that's been battling metastatic breast cancer. Kim, Jane, thank you so much for joining us. Jane, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about why it's important for patients to participate in clinical trials?
The biggest benefit for patients to participate in clinical trials is that they're able to receive treatments that they aren't able to otherwise. You know, all our standard of care therapies today are a result of clinical trials of yesterday. And in our trials, we're bringing innovative, exciting treatments from the laboratory into the clinic through clinical trials.
Kim, can you tell me a little bit about your story about what it's like living with metastatic breast cancer?
I was diagnosed about 4 years ago and it was already stage 4, metastatic to the bone. But I wanted to get to Hopkins where I knew they had, the latest of everything. So I'm very lucky to be with Jane and Dr. Miller.
Why has it been so important for you to participate in clinical trials?
Actually, I was thinking about that. And I have to say, I guess the first is kind of a selfish reason. It is because you feel like you're right on the cutting edge of whatever is out there at the greatest hospital in the world. But there's also another part where I think the way you deal with any disease or any diagnosis is a balance, that you kind of want to also contribute. If you can do something, even if you bounce out of the trials, even if it doesn't work for you, you've taken a bad diagnosis and tried to pull something good from it. It might benefit you, or it might just benefit people in the future, and that's a nice thing. A lot of people get so stressed out and then they want to do a whole lot of research. I never felt the need to, because I knew that very qualified people were doing that full-time as a job. So I can completely relax. I know I'm in the best hands I can be in. So there's also a lot less stress. The trials helped Jane. I got great care. I had all these people suddenly paying attention to me. So it was wonderful.
Jane, is Kim's experience typical?
Well, I think, yes, it is pretty typical, because one of the most important things is patient safety. So there are extra visits and maybe extra blood samples that are drawn to ensure patient safety while they're undergoing a clinical trial. There's a whole research team that has their eyes on the participant in the clinical trial. So I do think that it is a pretty typical experience for patients.
Can you talk a little bit about the types of clinical trials that are available to patients today?
There are several different phases of clinical trials. Phase 1 clinical trials are when we're bringing a medication for the first time to the clinic, to humans, and we're looking for the right dose of medication for patients. Phase 2 clinical trials is where we're looking for whether that same medication is effective in a particular type of cancer. We're also looking at side effects and safety. And then phase 3 clinical trials are where we're comparing that medicine to the standard of care therapy. And again, looking at tolerance, effectiveness, and safety.
You mentioned safety. How is safety ensured for people participating in clinical trials?
So I think through the extra set of eyes in this research team that monitor the patient very carefully while they're participating. And again, that's through extra visits, extra scans, extra blood samples, assuring that we're catching things early. We want to know, are you having side effects? Maybe we need to delay your medication. Maybe we need to make dose adjustments to your medication. We want to keep the side effects to a minimum and again, keep patients safe.
You mentioned a lot of testing and imaging. Should patients be concerned with these extra visits, that there may be out-of-pocket expenses, or is this something that insurance typically covers?
Before a patient can participate in a clinical trial, we have to go through an insurance clearance process where we give the patient and their insurance company a full listing of all the procedures, all the visits that will happen as part of the trial, what's covered by the study, and then what will be billed to insurance as standard of care.
Kim, were there any disadvantages to you participating in a clinical trial?
I had gone for just a regular set of scans in January, and all those scans came back just fine. I started into a study, and I had to go back again because it was the beginning of this study in February. And in that short amount of time, the test that they ran then found 2 incredibly small spots on my liver. You know, not great news, but the fact that it was so early. If I hadn't been in the study, it would have been another 6 months before I had gone and had scans. So yeah, an extra visit here or there, extra blood work, but when you understand what those benefits are, it's for you. It's because they're monitoring you. No downside.
And finally, can you tell me a little bit about why it's been so important for people living with advanced breast cancer to participate in clinical trials?
I guess in some ways, when you're talking about metastatic breast cancer, you know you're not going to be cured. They tell you that right up front. The clinical trials was my contribution of doing what I could to maybe further the treatment of the disease and to help myself as well. And you know, the combined things, and I just met an incredible group of people. I just really care about you, come out and talk to you, how are you, what are you doing? And so it's been a great experience for me, no downside.
Jane, Kim, thank you so much for joining us. I know this has been really helpful. I know I've learned a lot. And thank you for joining us.